guest is a Nigerian economist, banker, investor, philanthropist, and a politician. He was the former group managing director of Diamond Bank PLC, a leading financial institution here in Nigeria. He left banking in 2014 to pursue his quest to become the governor of Abia State in southeast Nigeria on the platform of the All Progressive Grand Alliance. Here to discuss the prevailing economic climate and his second bid to become governor of Abia State, we are joined now by Mr. Alex Otti. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the morning show.
Welcome to the morning show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, in an interview, you described the kind of politics going on in Abia State as a primitive kind, where the youths are used as a tool. Can you emphasize on that?
Thank you very much. Abia State had been very unlucky in the last 19 years.
Okay.
And what had happened is that we've had the wrong kind of leadership. And people have been so impoverished. Infrastructure has decayed completely. And the mainstay of the economy, which is Aba, is a ghost of itself. So a lot of businesses have relocated. And because of that, unemployment has become the order of the day. So it's become difficult for people to earn 3 square meals. So politicians take advantage of that. And by the time they give them little money, they send them out to the streets, they cause mayhem, they rig elections. And I thought it was time for people like us who have done other things and who have been successful in other things to come and show leadership in the state. And that's what propelled me to leave in 2014 and contest the election. And it is on record that I won that election, but it was stolen.
But it was stolen?
It was stolen.
Okay.
Yes, and we went to the court, we went to the tribunal. We lost at the tribunal, we went to the Court of Appeal, and we won. But the Supreme Court reversed it. And that is why it is critical that the Electoral Act is signed. Because what the Supreme Court said was that the only way you can prove overvoting is with the manual voters register. The truth about the matter was that the whole election in 2014 was done with the card reader, including the presidential election. So the argument I had then was that if the position of the Supreme Court was correct, then even the presidential election was an illegal election. So if the president does not give assent to the Electoral Act, then we are back to the 2015 days, where even though you use the card reader and you transmit the results electronically, it will still not count at the end of the day. If somebody goes and writes fake results and he gets to the Supreme Court, there's already an established law, so to say, where because the Electoral Act is not, does not recognize the card reader, then those results could be thrown out at the Supreme Court.
When you declared your interest in the 2019 elections in July, you said your ambition is to free Abians from the grips of the pharaohs who have taken charge of the state. Who are these pharaohs? And can you identify them?
Thank you, Reuben. Yes, the pharaohs are the people who have held Abia State down in the last 19 years. Abia State is very peculiar. The first governor in this republic was Dr. Ojy.
Is he one of the pharaohs?
He is.
I want you to mention names.
Yes.
I want you to break down.
I'm happy to mention names.
Yes.
So he held sway for 8 years, and his chief of staff then, Chief Dr. Ojy, who is a senator now, he handed over to him. So for 8 years, Ojy held sway. And as he was leaving, he manipulated the process, which gave rise to the present governor. So
well, he has issued a statement, or through one of his aides, to say that he intends to sue you.
Yes,
because you accuse him of having manipulated, having forced INEC to manipulate the results in Obingwa and Osisioma local councils.
That's right.
And he says, if you say it again, that you will get a lawsuit.
I've said it
Has
again.
he sued you?
I've said it again, and I've said it again, and I've asked him to go to court. My lawyers are waiting because we have it on authority. We even have it on record. He had admitted that he went to INEC because he was once an INEC staff. But the reality is that he was an administrative secretary. Yeah. But if you read the Electoral Act, you will find that he didn't have any business to get into the collation center and force the returning officer to admit fraudulent results that were pushed into the collation center. So I've challenged him, and I said, I'm waiting for him to sue me. I hope he does, and we'll say more.
Okay. Well, you were still identifying the pharaohs.
Yes, I have.
Oh,
I've identified
all of them?
All of them.
Okay,
yes.
you didn't talk about the governor. He's not one of the pharaohs.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's the main one that I'm challenging. So I can't count him out. But the reality is that he's being held down by the people who installed him. And I sympathize with him. And that is the beauty of the governorship of Alex Otti. Because I'm not going to be held down by anybody. I don't have a godfather. And I already have demonstrated that I can do things in the private sector. So somebody said that politics is too important to be left in the hands of politicians. I think time has come when people who have demonstrated capacity in other things, a lot of people parade themselves as politicians. That's why it's even difficult when people call me a politician. I look back and I'm wondering who they are talking about. I have come to intervene in politics. I'm not the typical politician. A lot of the typical politicians today don't have any jobs they do. They don't have any day job. They don't have any second address. And if you take away politics, then they're idle. And that is why they do everything and anything that is possible to remain in power. So you see somebody who was a governor, he now wants to be a senator. You see somebody who was a senator, he wants to be appointed commissioner. It doesn't matter at any level. He just wants to be in government. The difference is that some of us can do so many other things. So when you see people like us in politics, we've come to make a change. And that is what I bring to Abia.
Well, but how strong are you on the ground in Abia State? I see a lot of young people going around saying we are supporting Alex Otti. They don't look like people who have PVCs to me. You need people who have voters' cards, not those young boys just, dancing around the streets.
The young boys are the ones that vote. Today, the young guys, the women, they are the ones that vote. They are the ones that have PVCs. And if you look at our results in 2015, you'll find that we won in virtually everywhere, except those 2-3 local governments that they used to manipulate. So these are the grassroots. These are the people we need.
Yeah.
Now, the sad part is that if it has to do with manipulation, if it has to do with rigging, it is those politicians, in quote, and those are the people that we are fighting. And we'll get them out. And we need to do that across the whole state in Nigeria. And it's only when we have done that that we can now reclaim us and reclaim our country. Today, the economy is in shambles, not just in most states cannot even pay salaries. 70% of our budget, even nationally, is used to pay salaries, recurrent expenditures. We cannot continue to operate that way.
Well, when you talk about pharaohs, obviously you see yourself as a Moses who will take the people of Abia to the promised land.
Well, Moses didn't get to the promised land.
He didn't get to the promised land. Okay. But he led them out of captivity,
yes,
out of Egypt. Yeah. So you want to free the people.
Yes, right? And I want to get to the promised land with them. So maybe it's Joshua.
You don't want to be like that. Anyway,
yes.
What specifically is your contract? What contract are you proposing to the people of Abia State? What is it that people have not done since 1999 that you think should be done? What are the ideas you are bringing to the table that will be different?
The first thing that I talk about is good governance. And good governance can be described in different ways. First of all, transparency in managing the resources of the state. That has not been the case, because I wrote about blood tonic in This Day a couple of weeks ago, where people constitute themselves into some committee of some sort. They call themselves stakeholders. They call themselves elders. And by the way, when they say elders, they are not genuine elders. They are political party elders. So they sit down on the table at the end of every month. Monies are shared from federal allocation, and these are money that should be used to put resources on the table for the populace. So the first thing that I'll bring is integrity, is accountability in governance, is transparency. The next one is infrastructure. If you go to Abia State today, forget about what you see on TV. The entire infrastructural system had completely decayed. Okay. So, and what that does, and a lot of people do not realize it, you are pushing for internally generated revenue. You want the companies to exist, but you don't create the enabling environment for them to do well. And what happens is that they typically will vote with their feet. So in a place like Aba today, there's a street called Factory Road. Before now, when we were growing up, that place was littered with a lot of factories, PZ, Nestle, Nigerian breweries, and all. Most of them have left. Why did they leave? One, because of insecurity. Two, because there's no infrastructure. The roads are not there. Water, drainage system, completely decayed. So, and if you do not invest in it, it is, you kiss bye-bye to your internally generated revenue. Now, a lot of our people I talked about are unemployed. Even today, when you hear about insurgency and all the rest of them, you know, the youth are on the streets because they do not have anything to do. One of the mornings I was going to the east, and I found a lot of people, thousands of them, around 8 a.m. on the street on a Thursday morning. The reality is that if these people had jobs to do, they wouldn't be on the streets. Now, the women, a lot of our people are very hardworking people. Now, in terms of agriculture, what you find is that all of them just participate in agriculture to feed themselves and their family. That's subsistence farming. So one of the things that I intend to bring is that agriculture will now become a business where people can feed their children, they can send their children to school, they can afford good healthcare delivery from agriculture.
I mean, you've given us a taste of it. Yes. I'm sure you will have more than enough opportunity to engage your constituencies and tell them what you want to do. But let me take you away from Abia State politics. You were managing director of Diamond Bank up to 2014. And that bank is one of the banks that has been indicted by the CBN over, you know, illegal repatriation of funds on behalf of MTN. Now, that issue was between 2006 and 2015, which means that, you know, part of that was done when you were the chief executive officer of Diamond Bank. How did that happen?
Thank you very much. I will say I am not very, very schooled because I think the issue came up about Wednesday night, Thursday morning. That's less than a week ago. So I'm still trying to understand the whole hula baloo about MTN. But I must tell us something. There is this euphoria whenever a big man or a big institution or a big business is under the hammer. It's always important to go and read what Ijoma will call facts behind the figures. You need to understand what happened. So we need to understand it. But I must tell you one thing. One is that it is very, when I read it, 8-point-something billion dollars.
$8.13 billion.
$1.3 billion to be repatriated by, to be refunded by MTN. I don't know where that number is coming from. If they repatriated their funds, my understanding is that they paid Naira for dollars to be sent abroad. So if you are returning $8.13 billion, that means that there is some Naira that has to also be refunded to them. I don't know. Like I said, I've not investigated it. But there's also another issue, something that happened between 2006 and 2015. It is, I believe it should be investigated thoroughly. Investigating it also includes for central bank to look at itself again because, quite frankly, these banks have been examined on an annual basis at the minimum, sometimes on a quarterly basis. So how come it wasn't found out? For me, it's news to me. Okay. I never knew there was any such thing in my 4 years of being the CEO of Diamond Bank. It never came up. So it's news. And I think it needs to be handled in a manner that does not send the wrong signal. Now, MTN is foreign investment. The 4 banks that are indicted, so to say, are virtually foreign banks except Diamond Bank. And even in Diamond Bank, 15% of the shares are held by a foreign private equity firm. Today, the gentleman that spoke before me was talking about the executive bill on ease of doing business. We've done well because we've moved from number 169 to about number 145 in the ease of doing business index. So meaning we are doing well. Now, why are we talking about ease of doing business? We want to make the environment friendly for businesses to come in, both local and foreign, particularly foreign. So when you are giving a signal that things like this can just happen, somebody can just wake up and have $8.13 billion to refund. You never told him there was nothing like that. You need to think about it properly. Again, I also think that the way and manner it was communicated was wrong. Because the first time I saw it, it was on Twitter. So if you are going to penalize a bank, I think there are better ways of doing it. So I'm not raising defenses for the banks. I'm no longer in the banking industry. But I just think that something is wrong and it needs to be addressed properly. I do not believe that MTN stole $8.13 billion and nobody found out. I do not believe that the banks will aid MTN to steal $8.13 billion. If it is an infraction, then you have to penalize the institutions that are involved. A penalty wouldn't be $8.13 billion. It will also be the $5.87 billion that the banks are asked to refund. So I believe,
isn't there a provision in the Foreign Exchange Manual, 2005, that if you engage in illegal repatriation of funds, you forfeit the entire funds to the CBN?
Well, I do not know. But like I'm saying, it needs to be thoroughly investigated. In the 4 years that I sat as CEO of Diamond Bank, this matter did not come up at all. So it's very strange to me. Okay, so I can't actually give you all the responses, but I believe that thorough investigation needs to be done to be sure what actually happened. It is very unlikely for the Diamond Bank that I led to remit funds without going through the approval process.
Okay, well, let's talk about the economy. You are an economist. At a point a few years ago, Nigeria was regarded as the biggest, most thriving economy in Africa, with about 6.7% growth per annum. At a point, we were even projecting 7%, 8%. But today, GDP is flat. The economy is struggling with recession, although officially we're told that we're out of recession. What exactly do you think went wrong within a space of just less than 2 years?
Well, I think we need to go back beyond the 2 years.
Okay.
You see, the economy was growing at an average of 5.7%, the GDP growth, between 2005 and 2015. Some of us had warned that growth was empty.
Artificial.
Yes, because it was, the major driver was oil. And oil prices at 100, 120, sometime it got to $137 per barrel. Your economy will grow. But what was missing was that we did not envisage that oil prices can go down one day. And it's a fundamental law. Whatever goes up must come down. So we should have prepared for what happened post-2014, when oil prices dropped below $30 per barrel. In fact, it got to about $27 per barrel. So the economy just got cold. Okay, and there were no buffers for the economy. The economy was just structured as a mono-product economy, and we've been talking about it. Okay, it does appear that we are out of recession, and I had always maintained that recession is an occurrence that you can get out of the same way you got into it.
Anyway, let me close this on a political note.
Yes.
I get your point about what happened to the economy.
Yes.
Except there's still something you want to add.
Yes, I actually want to say that even though we are out of recession, it is still early days to celebrate. And you find that the growth, the GDP growth, has started going down again. And the last time, it came down from 2.11% to 1.95%, and today is 1.5%. It can go back
flat.
Yes, it can go back to zero, and then eventually 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth will go back to recession.
Yeah.
So we need to pay attention to a lot of factors. One of them is the diversification and restructuring of the economy.
Yeah.
Until we restructure this economy, we cannot go too far. I'd say that 70% of our budget goes into recurrent expenditure. So what that means is that it's just 30% that is available for capital expenditure. And where you have a bloated system, like the one we have, where you have a president, a vice president with retenue of aides, 36 governors, 36 deputy governors, 469 members of the National Assembly with over 3,800 aides. You cannot operate in that manner. So my thesis is that we need to sit down and look at the way this economy is organized. Can we afford to pay 469 members of the legislature? Maybe 100 can do that. Maybe we need only 6 states. Maybe we need to actually devolve powers from the center to the states and get them to start competing with each other.
Before we let you go, just one final question about your ambition in Abia State.
Yes.
Now, there are persons who are saying that, yes, you contested on the platform of APGA in 2015, but at this time around, you are so desperate, you are beginning to flirt with the All Progressives Congress APC.
Really?
Because you think that that will get you the position.
Okay, I'm just hearing that.
Well, I just told you.
So maybe it's you that are saying that.
No, I'm not the one. It's what I've heard.
No, I have friends everywhere.
But what is the truth, really?
No, the truth is that I remain in All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA. But I have friends everywhere. You are my friend.
I'm not a politician.
At some point, you were in PDP.
No,
you were working for PDP.
I was in PDP. I went to work.
And I have friends in APC. I have friends everywhere, and I must keep my friends. It doesn't matter what political party. And in any case, today, you see people decamping, recamping, and all that. Why? Because the political parties stand for nothing.
So you two may also decamp?
So, yeah, they can. You mean me?
Yes.
No, I don't need to decamp. I stay where I am. But I think that is very, very wrong. I cannot sever my relationship with my friends because they are in different parties. Adam Oshiomhole is my friend, and he remains my friend. We disagree all the time, but he remains my friend, and a couple of other friends. So they are in different party. In a different party, I'm in a different party. I'm in APGA, and we are sure to win our election. I'm not desperate, except if it is desperation to serve my people, to bring good governance to my people, to ensure that things change in Abia State, to ensure that people can afford 3 square meals a day, to ensure that healthcare delivery is available to
thank
the
you very
poorest
much,
person in Abia.
gubernatorial aspirant Alex Otti. We wish you all the best with your political career.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. It's time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll review some of the headlines on today's newspapers. Stay with us.